Ben Simmons. I mean, you cannot make this up. I would love, you guys are great. Charlie and Summers Point chiming in. Q, I heard he got kicked out of practice because his feelings got hurt. Yeah, I mean, listen, whoever is advising Simmons, this is what you need to do. If you are a Seinfeld fan, this is just my suggestion. You guys know I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. You know I always throw in a Seinfeld reference when I'm on the air. So this is the only thing I can think of. Do you remember the episode where, and it's an all-time classic, where George just decided he sits at the coffee house all day long, he wastes time, he wastes his day, and he decides, I have to do something. I have to. I have to turn around and I sit here all day long, I waste a day, and then I regret it. And that's when Jerry basically said, well, what are you going to do about it? And there was a very attractive woman at the diner looking over in George's direction. And Jerry basically said, why don't you just do the opposite? Just do the opposite. Because if everything you do has been wrong up to this point, right, then what you can do is the opposite. You go against the grain. You have to just get up and just totally do the opposite. And that's when George turns around and says, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. And he gets up and he says something to the woman. And then the woman said, that's amazing. You ordered the same lunch that I made. And he said, my name is George. I'm unemployed and I live at home with my parents. And she says, hi. Right. And then he gets a job with the Yankees. Maybe Ben Simmons, whoever's advising Simmons, just do the opposite if you're Ben Simmons. First of all, don't even listen to these guys. Instead of having a puss on your face, have a smile. Instead of being not engaged, be engaged. Instead of being selfish, be a team player. Do the opposite. Try it. See how it works. Kill them with kindness. See how it works. Now, we know that's fantasy. That's TV show. It's not going to happen. But what good is going to come of this if he just continues to act this way? His trade value goes down. And he's never going to step on the floor again as a Philadelphia 76er. Like, how did we get this far? You ever had those conversations with yourself? Like, how did we get to this point? We've all had that conversation. You look in the mirror one day and you say, whoa, what happened? And you can insert whatever team you want as far as the trade piece. Because now what the Sixers have to do, and this is your slippery slope, you got to weather the Simmons storm. I got to figure out a way how in the world I can trade this talented three-time All-Star, get him out of my hair. And you don't think for one moment Daryl Morey has no doubt been making phone calls left and right. And as Jonathan Marshall said, and I agree 100%, the sooner this saga ends, the better. But here's the problem. I'm willing to buy your house. You got to lower the price. If you're a homeowner and you're going to be stingy and you're not going to do that, then I'm going to walk. And if you're a motivated buyer, because I'm not a motivated buyer, if you're a motivated seller, work with me. Because I am not a motivated buyer. I can come and go. I can look elsewhere. So the Bradley Beals and the Damian Lillards are pretty much out of the reach. So maybe Maybe you want to try to get that difference-making variable. Look, Toronto's got some talent. Toronto's got some talent. You can move some players. Now, are they going to be a willing dance partner? I don't know. I don't really think the type of week that Simmons has had is going to endear him to other GMs around the league. But we've seen players who have been malcontents before get traded. So maybe you got a player in a first-round draft pick and you call it a day. Boom. Maybe you get a player or two and just get it done. You just can't drag your feet anymore if you're the Philadelphia 76ers. You can't, because if you think it's going to get better, it ain't. If you think there's a silver lining, there isn't. There's just not. All right, let me get to some of these tweets. Ash on Twitter chimes in, listening in Violin online at work. Ash, I appreciate that. Rich, enjoying the show as always. You made a couple of interesting points about Ben Simmons. Yes, we know he's talented, but as you mentioned, when is enough is enough? I think talent alone doesn't tell the whole story here. Maybe he really needs to go to speak to someone. I'm not going to pass judgment on him. I'm not saying you are, but let's see how this really plays out. Ash, I appreciate the compliment and I appreciate the comments. I'm done letting this play out. I can't do it anymore. What are we waiting for? Seriously, ask yourself, what are you waiting for, right? If you're a betting man right now and you're thinking about, from an odds standpoint, where I think Ben Simmons is going to land, it doesn't, again, he's not playing, folks. You know, there's been reports that he basically said he's not mentally ready to engage. So then there's something else going on there, but I don't believe it should be 100% the excuse. That's what I believe. And a lot of times these players don't want to deal with certain things. So, like, for instance, he had a temper tantrum. Why? Because he probably don't want to have to meet with the media. That's just a thought. I don't hear a lot of people bringing that up. He probably decided, you know what? I want to get the heck, kick me out of practice, man, because I don't want to deal with these guys because it's going to be vultures. I mean, that's a fair point to bring up. Adam chimes in. Q, did you see the report from Shams that the Sixers are not trying to move Simmons? They made it clear that they will not deal him at this time. So it looks like the Sixers are stuck with him. Yeah, I read that story in The Athletic. But then, Adam, what do you do, pal? Right? What you can't play him if he's not engaged. You can't. I would take a flyer right now that Ben Simmons' first game is probably going to be in November. And you can probably get a nice little odds on that. Maybe like, I'll set it at 125, 150, minus 150 money line. He'll probably get traded sometime in December. Hank chimes in. Q, listening in North Jersey. I'll tell you what, if Simmons played tonight, what if he were to come down the floor and knock down a three? I bet you all is forgiven. Yeah, not happening. That's not happening. Mark and Ellesmere chimes in. Q, where do you think the next team would be involved to make a trade for Simmons? I'm assuming, Mark, you're talking odds-wise. Well, I just gave you the Toronto scenario. I'm going to say it's probably plus, I don't know, 850 to 1,000. I still believe a lot of people think it'll either be Minnesota or Portland. So now you got plus 300, plus 200. Nobody knows, pal. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. The only confidence I have right now is that I think when it's all said and done, okay, he will have gotten what he wants, and that's forcing his way out of town. That's just the way I look at it. So if you look at some of the odds right now, if you go to DK DraftKings, Brooklyn is plus 205 to win the title. The Lakers are plus 400. The Bucks are plus 900. I love that 9-1. The Warriors, Jonathan Marshall likes them, plus 1,100. The Sixers are sitting at plus 2,000. So the Nets are nearly unplayable, right? If you're looking elsewhere, as I mentioned, Bucks 390, Sixers plus 750. Atlanta, who took care of the Sixers in the playoffs, plus 1,500. So if you want some value, I would probably say Eastern Conference finalists have some good vending value. Bucks versus the Nets, Nets versus Sixers, Atlanta versus the Nets. You're going to catch anywhere from plus 290 to plus 1,300. Now, if you're gutsy and you want to go Milwaukee Hawks, Eastern Conference Finals, that'll net you, you're looking at plus 2,500 on that. All right, 5:16, quick timeout. We'll have Rothstein on the other side at 5:20.
Hi,